Good afternoon and welcome to this season of the One-on-One Sports Webcast. I'm Matt Holzaffel.
And I'm Andrew Vandellis. We have a lot of exciting news to cover, so let's jump right into the three strikes.
On January 25th, Vince McMahon announced the planned relaunch of the XFL in late January of 2020. The league will be owned and funded by McMahon alone. It will differ greatly from the sex and violence-flaunting league we once knew, with McMahon emphasizing a faster, safer game featuring players with no criminal records and a rule mandating that everyone stand for the national anthem. The league will feature 8 teams with 4 making the playoffs. McMahon did not announce any cities, teams, or TV deals for the league. Andrew, what must the XFL do differently this time in order to succeed, and will it succeed?
The XFL needs to try to distance themselves less from the NFL and focus more on their own brand. But at the same time, they can't be exploiting those differences. I know we talked about a faster game and pace of the game, rather, but they really need to focus on developing the talent they have. I mean, other than Maddox back when the XFL first started. There's no one else to develop, but now you have a whole different kind of talent pool with Johnny Manziel, who does have a sort of a criminal record, but I think that could slip under, or RG3 or Tim Tebow as well. So focusing on the talent you have is definitely an essential.
Yeah, I put Johnny Manziel down as well, just because I think he's part of really a 3-pronged plan that I had. And first of all, like you said, avoid comparisons to the NFL that isn't the NFL. Obviously, you're saying the whole national anthem thing is a comparison to the NFL, but you don't need to be comparing yourself to this league, which is obviously bigger,
and
more
it's a
profitable.
Starter league. You can't
exactly.
really say you're on that level, you know. And on top of that, use those big names that we were talking about, like Griffin and Manziel, and really market the brand around those big names.
Exactly, and you just need to find people who are maybe well-known, not even if they're like Manziel, RG3 guys who aren't established but are well-known.
Exactly. On January 28th, Jaromir Jagr was waived by the Calgary Flames and is reportedly retiring from the NHL. Jagr leads the NHL standing at second in league history in points scored, 5th in assists, and 1st in game-winning goals. When all is said and done, should Jagr be considered a top 5 hockey player?
I think absolutely. And you look at what he's done in terms of all-time records. He owns 20 NHL records by himself, and he's second in points behind Wayne Gretzky, third in goals, Gretzky, Gordie Howe. And he's top 5 in all of these categories: assists, games played. And the guys who are in front of him are top 5, top 10 NHL players who are in the Hall of Fame or going to be in the Hall of Fame. So when you're up there with names like that, you have to consider him, especially for how long he played for so many different teams he played for sustained excellence in the NHL like we saw throughout his career.
Exactly. He's arguably one of the top 10 most clutch players of all time. He's bounced around from 9 different teams and has had significant impact on each team he has, bringing his star-studded name and an attitude to the teams. And he has 2 Stanley Cups to his name, so I don't see why he wouldn't be a first-ballot Hall of Famer.
Exactly, and he did it, like you said, so many different teams. He also did it in different countries. He's Europe's best player from the Czech Republic. He owns records like game-winning goals, overtime goals. He's a clutch player, and he was relied on as a veteran for so long by so many different teams who really helped bring up the young players and the young talent for all those teams that helped establish them as franchises in the NHL. So it's really what he brought to the game on top of all the records he holds.
Without a doubt, one of the best.
Exactly. Last week, the Washington Redskins stunned the football world, acquiring quarterback Alex Smith from the Kansas City Chiefs, possibly signaling their intent to move on from Kirk Cousins. The deal sent Smith to the Redskins in exchange for cornerback Kendall Fuller and a 3rd-round pick. Andrew, with that in mind, does this still make the Redskins better, or should they have re-signed Kirk Cousins?
I've debated with myself about this for a long time, but it absolutely makes them better. With Alex Smith, you are getting exactly what you paid for and some more. Smith is coming off the best career year he's had in a team like Kansas City where it's a lot of disappointment, but you look at the disappointment that the Redskins have had under Kirk Cousins and just inevitably keeping him on a leash. But now, if you let Kirk Cousins go...
It's not the same kind of disappointment, though, because at least the Chiefs are making the playoffs consistently.
Exactly,
and they had a very explosive offense, and that obviously wasn't all Smith, but he was very helped by Kareem Hunt and Tyreek Hill. I think the big problem for me is, and I'm hesitant to say whether Alex Smith or Cousins is a better quarterback because they're so similar. A new quarterback in Alex Smith coming into Washington, he's going to take time to learn the system, to get that chemistry with the players, whereas with Kirk Cousins, you already had that. He knew the plays, he knew the systems, he knew the personnel. And so that's obviously a big thing when any player goes to a new team, but that's going to be a problem. I think it won't take him too long as a veteran quarterback.
I just felt a little stagnant with Kirk Cousins, and I think you were just prolonging the inevitable of him leaving. I don't think he's worth the money of a big-time extension, and as I mentioned, it's just about time for him to leave and move on. And Alex Smith is a great acquisition for you to build your receiving core and your offense in general around.
I think one of the biggest mistakes they could make is they mentioned franchising Kirk Cousins to trade him. Don't do that. That's disrespectful.
Exactly.
All the things he did for your organization, let him go to the free agent market, let him find the team he wants to play for. Obviously not the Niners anymore because they got Jimmy Garoppolo, but he deserves to test the market because he was successful in the years with the Redskins after replacing RG3.
But I do think that the past few years, in particular with Kirk Cousins, have been stagnant. It's been wash, rinse, repeat with the same old thing of just barely missing the playoffs. With Alex Smith, while you haven't won a game in Kansas City in the playoffs, you're at least getting there. So with that talent translating over now in the trade, I think Alex Smith just brings a whole new potential to the team in general and a whole different dynamic. And he has that firm leadership that I think Kirk Cousins is lacking.
I also think it's important to note this wasn't a lack of talent in Cousins that they had to find someone else. It just was obviously a riff with the front office, the coaching staff, some kind of riff. Obviously, we don't know exactly what happened, but all season they were talking about Cousins going to leave. He's going to go to the Niners. He's going to go somewhere, not Washington. And inevitably, that's what's going to happen.
Well, coming up, we will recap the Super Bowl with our NFL experts. Stay tuned.